We have a quorum. We'll start our meeting now, if we may. 3:05, according to that clock. Call to order. Our agenda is on the second full page of your document. We have the minutes from December on the following page after that. If you have not looked at them, if you give them a quick perusal and see if we can...
Move we approve.
Move for approval. Do I hear a second? Second. Those who approve, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. The next item is to look at the items of consideration. And I'll turn it over to you. Please.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. Paul Bronson, Assistant Director, Public Works Department. Your first item for consideration today is item number 3A. It's a request for an allocation of $200,000 in funds from the 2007 GEO Bond Program, Proposition number 3, unlisted traffic funds to project TC0446, lighting replacement on I-35 between Southeast 15th and Southeast 66th Street, wards 4 and 7. Under state statute, the Oklahoma Department of Transportation is not responsible for the maintenance or replacement of highway lighting as it runs through the different municipalities in the state. We were notified, I want to say, a month and a half ago by ODOT that there were several of the highway lights on this stretch of I-35 whose bases had become very deteriorated, and they were very concerned about collapse. Here's some examples. Accordingly, the Public Works Department has engaged the services of our on-call structural engineer to perform an analysis and a survey of all the lighting in this stretch and give us a report as to which poles can be rehabilitated and which ones need to be totally replaced. So that's what we're asking for today, $200,000 from the unlisted traffic portion of the 2007 bond program to perform that engineering study and to provide funds for any rehabilitation and or replacement that's necessary.
I have a question.
Yes.
Information on that. Do we have information as to when these were originally installed?
That I don't know.
I was just curious as to how long they were
I've been in Oklahoma
lasting.
28 years, and I honestly don't know how long I-35 has been there, so I'll have to take a pass on that one. I'm sorry.
So these are probably original with that.
More than likely, yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If the part of the funds is for the engineering study and then the assessment cost, where did we come up with the $200,000 if we haven't had the study yet?
Deb, can you tell me how we came up with that?
It was just an estimate. We had a proposal from one engineering, but it was just an estimate to start with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's more, you'll come back to the committee.
If it's
If
more-
less, what happens?
If it's more, according to the bond administrative procedures, if it's $250,000 or less, that can be approved administratively by the city manager's office.
$250,000.
If it exceeds $250,000, then we'll have to come back to this body and ask for additional funding. I don't anticipate being that much with an estimate of 200,000. If it was double, it always could be, but
But you
that,
don't estimate it being
that would be,
below.
right, that would be highly unlikely, so.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or requests for information? Anyone entertain a motion for approval or disapproval? Thank you, Greg. Second motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Approved. Thank you.
Okay. Item 3B is a request for an allocation of $4,998.70 in funds from the remaining 1995 GEO bond program. Proposition number 4, storm drainage unlisted funds, and an additional request for $101,066.51 from the remaining 1995 GEO bond program. Proposition number 4, drainage interest funds to project DC 0282. It's the fiscal year 2014-15 drainage unit price contracts, and that's a citywide contract. What we do in Public Works, both for, well, actually, we do it in all categories. We do it in paving, we do it in bridges, and we do it in drainage. We use what are called unit price contracts, and how those work is we establish unit prices on any number of pay items that could be used in that particular type of work, whether it's paving, small bridges, or minor drainage like these. And we have so many work orders that our street and drainage folks have to address that we came up with these unit price contracts to be able to bid those out and have a contractor get to some of the more pressing needs in a more timely manner. And this slide actually shows you a couple examples of the kind of work that we do. We've pretty much drawn the line in Public Works. We say that any project that is going to exceed $250,000 in our estimate, we go ahead and actually bid those out separately because we think we can get a better price if we bid them out. But on the smaller jobs like these that you see here, we go ahead and we use those unit price contracts. We issue a work order to the contractor. They issue us a proposal as to what they think the work is going to be, what it's going to cost, and then we issue them a work order. So what these funds will do, we meet every month with the drainage section staff, and we're continually getting, various drainage complaints on these type of areas, and we go through and we prioritize the work, and we look at available funds, and we issue work orders to the contractor accordingly. So that's what these funds will be used for. Once these funds gets approved by the City Council at our meeting later this month, we'll know that we've got additional drainage funds available, and we'll look at our list and we'll say, okay, here's our top 2 or 3 priorities. We've got additional funding available. Let's issue the work order to the contractor to address those needs that are most pressing. And then we'll continue to do that until these funds are expended.
Where are we within that 3-year cycle?
This is a new contract,
So,
so it'll be able to be renewed. Unfortunately, probably these funds will not last. More than likely, they won't last in order for us to renew it once or twice, if even 3 times.
thank you.
So we're using 1995 GEO bond funds?
Right.
I didn't realize we had any left over.
These are the very last storm drainage funds from the 95 bond issue. We had originally thought that we had these funds expended on a emergency project as a result of the May 31st, 2013 flood. But when we got into it with FEMA and the State Office of Emergency Management, they told us that the work that we were contemplating doing, in their opinion, was there pre-disaster. It existed prior to the flooding that took place on May 31st, so they deemed the projects that we wanted to use this money for originally ineligible. So now we're having to come back and use these funds to take care of some of this minor drainage work through the use of the unit price contract. So in other words, we would have had this money spent well over a year ago.
But you were thinking FEMA would reimburse.
Thinking
we were
FEMA
waiting.
would reimburse, but then they deemed the projects that we wanted to use the money on ineligible, pre-existing to the disaster. So we had to backtrack, and this is the best use of these funds. We can expend these in a timely manner.
Does the 2007 GEO bond have any drainage
Yes.
funds in it, but they've never been used because the 1995s have not been used?
It's always our goal to spend the oldest money first.
Right.
So there are 2007 funds available, but it's our
And-
prerogative right now to use these monies first, get these off the books,
Sure.
let the finance department not, having to keep accounting of them. So.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I hear a motion for this item to approve or disapprove. as used.
Make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. We have, that's the end of your items, isn't it?
Right.
And we have informational material here.
Normally at this time, we go over the December executive summary, financial summary, but I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Bronson. He has some additional information he'd like to provide to the committee.
What we've prepared is kind of a short report that kind of highlights what the Bond Advisory Committee accomplished in 2014. As you can see, we met 9 times, and we approved a total of just over $2.9 million in bond funds that were allocated to 16 different projects. There's some examples. Here's an example of a street resurfacing project that we did in conjunction with Oklahoma County. This was on North Rockwell Avenue from Northwest 150th to Northwest 164th Street at a cost, the total cost on the street projects was $991. I believe this cost us a little over $150,000. We get a lot of mileage out of participation with Oklahoma County, Cleveland County, helps our dollars go a lot farther, and this is just an example of one of those. Here's another one that we did over in Ward 7. This was on Sooner Road from Northeast 23rd Street south, about 1/2 mile to the railroad tracks. We did 5 drainage projects for a total of $1.6 million. This is a project that's currently under construction. This is a sand filter for storm drainage that is located on the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds property. There was a handful of projects in the 2007 bond program that'll help improve the water quality in the Oklahoma River. And this is one of those projects, the purpose of which is if you kind of look at the photo there, the Oklahoma River is just, I don't know, maybe a mile downstream from this point. It's located where General Pershing intersects May Avenue, just on the fairgrounds property there. And the purpose of the project is to direct all the outfall in that basin through this sand filter and take out a lot of the impurities before it goes downstream and goes into the river. So this was an example of some of the funds that we used on one of the drainage projects. Here is a project that was caused by the May 31st, 2013 flood. This is at Reno Avenue, east of Morgan, and this is a 10 by 16 foot drainage culvert that totally collapsed. And we used unlisted bond funds to complete this work, and it was just final accepted back in November. Here's the new turnaround for the Devon River cruisers. This was a funded 2007 Parks project, but as we got into the project, we actually had to use some unlisted funds to supplement the listed money to fund amendments and change orders on the projects. But this is how it currently looks today. And then we did one building projects at the Fire Police Training Center, some HVAC improvements in the training center gym. And then we did one citywide traffic control unit price contract. Here again is an instance where we use a unit price contract. We get base pay items, and as traffic projects become available that are outside the scope of our in-house folks, we issue work orders to that contractor to maybe put up a new signal, maybe to do some striping that is needed in a time frame much quicker than we can get to. So we used $150,000 of unlisted traffic funds during 2014. We'll have to go back to the top. It was, yeah, almost $3 million. Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Sure.
I can go ahead and go over the December GeoBond Executive Summary Report. Just going to highlight some of the numbers that are on that report. Year-to-date, GeoBond contract awards is $18.3 million, and this will include not only projects that's come to this committee to approve, like the unlisted funds, but also listed bond funds as well. So that's at $18.3 million. And then we have amounts advertised but not awarded, $23.7 million. And then GeoBond expenditures for the month of December, a little over $3.5 million, and year-to-date, a little over $24 million. Our box 2 there, 85% expenditure requirement. I want to highlight this report was done as of December 16th, 2014, and that's when we meet with the city manager's office. But the 2012 sale at that time was at 84%, and we have exceeded the 85% requirement since that information was put together. And you can see there 2013 and 14 have been updated as well. Moving on to the next slide, this shows our comparison of what our original target was when we started back at the beginning of the fiscal year in July, and then how we've went through the year. And you can currently see we're under target. But as mentioned above, the amounts advertised but not awarded, we currently have over $23 million to be awarded over the next month and a half. So that will close up that gap there dramatically. And with that, that's all I have for our December financial summary report. One other thing, Brandy sent out an email requesting your information on your vehicle so we can get you some parking passes for the north side of Colcord over here, and we got that turned into the parking manager, and so we expect we'll get those decals sent out to you this next month. And that's all I have, except for one small thing. I've accepted a position with the Oklahoma City Police Department. I'm going to be their business manager, so this might be my last bond advisory meeting. So I've enjoyed working with all of you all. I think this is like my 12th year actually serving as the secretary for this committee. So I might be back next month in the kind of the transition period, but there's a possibility this might be my last one here. So just want to let you all know that. Thank you. Thanks.
Just make sure that you get us somebody that knows as much of this as you do. Although Brandy will take care of them, I'm sure. If she's still, unless you take her with you. Thank you. Okay. That finishes our informational items. Is there any new business for this committee? Anyone here? Okay. Any items from committee members? Any citizens to be heard? I'd like to entertain a motion
So moved.
to adjourn. Second? Okay. Thank you for getting here. We're adjourned.